Hey everybody, Professor Ball here. How's it going? We have made it to paper number 4. Woohoo! So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about paper number 4, and this video is going to explain the prompt, help you get started on the research, and get started on the writing of it. And this is right out of the module, paper number 4, right here. Oops, sorry. And in one regard, this is actually going to be slightly easier for you because you're using some of the same information that you used for paper 3 in paper 4. For example, this is what you're going to do. Thinking of the documentary that you analyzed in paper 3, I'd like you to do some research on the issue that comes up in your documentary or an issue. So if you're watching a movie that talks about a few different things that are maybe connected, you would pick one of those issues. But if your film, for example, is just dealing with one topic, then you'd want to see what's going on with that topic. And what you're going to do is you're going to analyze what the current argument is with the issue that you focused on. For example, so in my face-to-face classes, many of the students are familiar with the film Super Size Me, and that is the documentary that was probably out, 10, 12 years ago. And Morgan Spurlock ate McDonald's 3 times a day to see how fast food affected his health. I guess this is one of those films that everybody sees in like health class in the 7th grade. At least that's what I've been told. So you're not going to be analyzing the argument that he makes that fast food is bad. You're going to look at some of the issues that come up when you type in fast food into the search engines. And I've given you a couple here, and there's another one that I'm going to point out to you. But just when I went to issues and controversies, there were a few different discussions taking place in the country and around the world. For example, should trans fat be banned from U.S. restaurants? So if that was your choice, then you would see what everybody is arguing about, and you would focus on one aspect of that argument. Should the government take measures to fight obesity? Should schools restrict the sale of junk food? So those are 3 things that came up just from typing in fast food. I think I typed in fast food and obesity. Now, let me show you what the research would look like. So I've given you a couple websites to look at. Not necessarily look at, but I mentioned a couple databases. So you're going to start here at articles and databases, and I've already gotten there. And the ones here, I mentioned issues and controversies, CQ Researcher. I forgot to mention opposing viewpoints, but I think that's a really good one as well. But you would do for this is you would type in, let's just say fast food. And what you see here is there's a lot of other categories here to narrow your focus. But I'm just going to see what fast food says. And what you're going to want to start at is viewpoints, because this is where people are arguing, debating, offering an opinion about the subject matter. So viewpoints are those opinions. So this one is in defense of the fast food industry. So a lot of people say fast food is bad, but this person says, no, it's not so bad. Fast food is harmful to people on the planet. So Morgan Spurlock in Super Size Me talked about fast food being bad for our bodies, but this person's taken it a step further and talking about the environment. Fast food chains had better move past value meals and embrace health. This kind of connects to the film, but it's not about the film. The globalization of fast food has some benefits. So I think you get the gist. So what you're going to do is you already have your movie selected. You're going to use your documentary from paper number 3. And what you're going to do is you're going to do some reading, see what people are arguing about, and you're going to use 2 to 3 sources for your paper. Some people look at this as a research paper. You've been doing mini research assignments and parts of it through this whole semester. So it is, I guess, kind of like a research paper. Stick with viewpoints, but if you need to, you can go to news and get more information about that. Anything that's going to help you support your discussion. I shunned fast food, then I had a kid. London plans to ban fast food outlets near schools. Oh, this one's scary. Restaurant report card, what's in your fast food meat, and so on. So whatever your subject is, throw it in there. In my face-to-face classes, a few people did the documentary Blackfish, which was about animal treatment at amusement parks like SeaWorld. So if I type in animals in captivity, if I spell it right, animals in captivity, okay, well, not captivity, wild animals in captivity, animals in captivity. Basically, Blackfish says that killer whales should not be kept in the containers that they are at SeaWorld or any other types of animal parks around the world. And SeaWorld says, no, we're actually doing all these things for the environment and helping the animals and so on. So here there's not a lot. So I'm just going to go back. What did I do here? Animals in captivity. Let me see what wild animals in captivity comes up with. There's not much. So I'm just going to do whales in parks, maybe? Not whale sharks. Oh, this one I didn't look at before I started looking. Okay, so there's 38 news articles, but there's no viewpoints. But, here's an interesting thing. If your documentary had to do with the environment or maybe pollution, there's a couple articles that have come up where when whales and sharks and other creatures are found washed up on the ocean, like on the beach, they're finding tons and tons of plastic inside their bodies. So just throwing that out there. Orcas do worse in captivity. Death of SeaWorld trainer. Do killer whales belong in theme parks? So you're going to want to take some time, do a little digging, and this is what you're going to do. You are going to present a paragraph or two about the situation, what people are saying about it. Fast food is bad. Fast food is good. Killer whales in captivity are great. Killer whales in captivity is horrible. You pick a side. Then you tell me what types of supporting evidence people are using for their point. If somebody says fast food is bad, do they use data? Do they use statistics? Do they use expert opinion? Does a person use interviews? And again, this is from your sources, not the film. If you have 2 to 3 sources, you should have a paragraph on each. That's 2 to 3 paragraphs. Okay, how much time do I have here? Hold on one second. Continuing on. Okay, so moving on. Then what you're going to do is you're going to talk about where you stand on the issue. Now, you're not going to say I, me, or my, but if you're thinking, I think killer whales should not be kept in captivity, just eliminate the I think. Killer whales should not be kept in captivity. There should be a limit on kids' intake of fast food. Going back to Bowling for Columbine, there needs to be tougher or stronger gun laws. There needs to be stronger enforcement of background checks. If you're not doing any of these, but if you were doing the movie Precious Knowledge, which we watched a couple weeks ago, you would say, instead of saying, I think that Mexican American studies or Asian American studies should be in high schools and colleges around the country, just ethnic studies are a good thing. Ethnic studies are a bad thing. Now take a look at refutation or refute, R-E-F-U-T-E. We've seen a little bit of that in the readings from the textbook. That basically says you're taking into consideration what somebody's going to say. If you're arguing there needs to be ethnic studies in high schools across the country, you are anticipating in a paragraph or two what people are going to say. For example, if you're arguing that ethnic studies need to be in colleges, refuting or rebuttal would be, people may say that ethnic studies are bad for high schools. For example, in this article, so-and-so says that. In this video, so-and-so says that. But in reality, the truth is this. So you take into consideration what the opposing viewpoint might be on your stance, and you weaken it. You weaken any opposition to your argument. At least a paragraph, maybe a couple paragraphs. And just remember the idea, the point, well, with academic writing, it's one idea per paragraph. Okay, so keep that in mind. So you have that. And then the last part is your conclusion. What do we need to do? What recommendations are you going to suggest? What steps do we need to take? And all this information, I think I have it here. Chapter 5 goes into all of this in detail. And if you're still with me, if you type in the word chapter 5 into your comments, I will add a couple points to your paper. Chapter 5 goes into this quite a great bit. All right. So hopefully this all makes sense to you. This is just the nuts and bolts of responding to the prompt. So just to reiterate, the documentary that you used, you're going to pick a topic or an issue that comes up in the documentary. And you're going to analyze the arguments that are taking place. You're going to take a stand on your own of what needs to happen. You're going to consider what your opposing voices might say, your critics might say, and then you're going to end it on some recommendation, a call to action, or what steps need to be taken. Okay, so that is it in a nutshell. I think, well, we'll get to the guidelines in the next video, but there you go for part 1.